Hi there, this is Linda and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be flipping through February in my daily journal. Let's go ahead and dive right in. Okay, you guys, it is now slightly into March and I am going to flip through everything I did in February in here. First, I want to show you, it's getting a little bit chunky. I'm trying to prevent it from getting too chunky because for me, I really struggle to write in here when it gets too thick. So I know I need to cut back a little bit. Partially though, February was a little thicker than an average month just because when I travel, I add a lot in here. So if you are new here, this is the daily planner in A5 size from Sterling Ink. And this is what I'm using this year for my daily journal instead of a Hobonichi Cousin like I have used in the past couple of years. So let's just open this up. So first, the Calendex. So for this, I'm using this as an index and I am essentially indexing what's in my daily page. I do all of my media reviews in here. So if I included a book review, it's highlighted in this blue color. If I included a TV or a movie review, it's in the purple color. And if we were traveling, I included it in pink because I do take this journal with me while I travel and I do a lot of travel journaling in here. So I like to be able to see the year at a glance in that way. I'm also including a photo of me from each month. And then I just added these top things. I wanted something to fill the box. So I just did this with my Sharpie Creative markers. And I filled in the whole year so I don't have to come back and do that later. And I just like how that makes it look a little bit more finished. So let's go to the monthly spread. So for the monthly spread, I like to add one doodle or icon per day. A lot of these are magazine cutouts. Some of them are stickers. Some are like this is from a daily calendar. They just come from kind of all over the place. And I enjoy kind of the eclectic approach to this. And I feel like it's really fun to try to find something that fits each day. It was a little hard for travel because some of the things we did were very specific. Like we went and saw specific sites and I wasn't able to so I had stickers for Singapore because I actually bought Singapore themed stickers, but I didn't have any for our other destinations. So I struggled a little bit with that. I wanted to show you also the end of January because when I filmed my January flip through, I hadn't finished up this last week because of our trip. So I just had filled this in. We had a snowy day and then travel. The 28th was a day that we were flying. And because of a time change and a really long flight, we really just didn't get a 28th. And then we arrived in Kuala Lumpur and we spent some time there. So I put that there. And then for each destination, I decided to write down where we were the day that we got there. And then the passport here is the day that we flew home. And then let's see, I did Lunar New Year. I've got just some things like this was a super busy work day. We had an electrician come this day. Took a civil service exam. I was really stressed out. So a lot of icons about that. And then that's the end of February. So one of the big reasons why I'm in this journal this year as opposed to a Hobonichi Cousin is this one does not have weekly spreads. So let's flip straight to our daily spreads. So the daily starts with my goals. And I did check off a little bit on here. I didn't really come back at the end of February and check in here as much. But I was not super successful with my goals. February was just a really, really rough month for me. Just super stressful, super busy. And I think that is really reflected in my journal pages. Before I start flipping through, I'm going to go back and flip through the last few pages in January because when I did my flip through for January, like I said, the month was not over. So I think it was probably about here when I filmed it. So here was we had a snow day for our last day here before leaving for vacation. And then here was our travel day. And so I just document a little bit about that. And then this day was that day that was lost. and I spent 18 hours on a flight. So I just kind of documented what we did or what I did for 18 hours of a flight, which I thought was kind of fun to do. And then we got to Kuala Lumpur. So I take my journal with me while I travel, and I do film a lot of that process. I do have travel and document with me videos, and I have planned to make some for this trip. I'm very behind on those, but I do have a playlist if you're interested in seeing them. And essentially it's a video of kind of like a vlog style video of me traveling and then how I'm documenting it while I'm on the road in my journal. I also plan to create a video specifically just about travel journaling and how I travel journal, but I just haven't gotten to it yet. So stay tuned for that one. But for my travel pages, I focus pretty much on like, this is what we did. And then I also add in a lot of ephemera. Here's our second day in Kuala Lumpur, and then our third day. And then we are ending January. So this year I'm doing a full page vision board, and it is a full page spread at the end of the month. So I will have the February one at the very end. But these, I do put these together in my monthly plan with me videos. So if you're interested, you can see that process there. So continuing Kuala Lumpur for February 1st. And then we left Malaysia and went to Phu Quoc, Vietnam. So this was our travel day. And then here was our first day in Phu Quoc. I really like how this one came out. I brought my selfie square printer while I travel, and I like to use that to add photos in here. I will link in the description box below, but I think it might be sold out because it is an older printer. I think they have a newer model now, but you can click over it and see if it's still available. I do highly recommend that one though, because it is very good quality and the prints are super thin to put in an album, but they are kind of expensive. So I only really use it while traveling. And when I print at home, I like the ability to just print on my home printer and print more on a page and like not have the glossy photo, but it's great for while I'm traveling. The next 2 days we spent at the resort, and we didn't really do much. We were laying out by the pool and stuff. So I just added the resort map in for the majority of the spread and just added in a few words. And it was also a good way for me to stay on track while traveling, because I like to keep up with this while I'm traveling. And I had a lot of downtime in Phu Quoc, but not at our other destinations. So this gave me more time to work on some other spreads. Then we went to Bangkok. So here's my travel day. And like I said, I try to add in a lot of ephemera in here. I'm adding in stickers, photos. Here I created a flip out because I had more to say. We went to see a Muay Thai fight. And so I wanted to add this in and then still journal about it. And then here's some more Bangkok, adding in business cards, things cut out of magazines, ephemera, stickers, photos, just having a lot of fun with it. And then here was our last travel day. We went to Singapore, or travel to our last stop in Singapore. And so I added a photo in here. And then here I'm working on the first day of Singapore. So you can see me adding in stickers, photos, and then at this point in the trip, I got really tired. So I did do the ephemera and photos and stuff while I was there, but I ended up finishing this journaling once I got back home, and that was totally fine. This day we went to Garden by the Bay, so I have my ticket in here. Whenever I get tickets, I love the ability to put it in here. This day I met up with Yin, who is a friend from Instagram, who's also a journaler and a scrapbooker. If you don't follow her, I will link her Instagram account down below. She has the most amazing travel journals. So if you're interested in that, I highly recommend checking out her account. Plus, she's the sweetest person ever. And it was so fun to meet up with her on the other side of the world. So she gave me some stuff. So I added some of the ephemera she gave me in here. And she left me a little note for my journal. And then this was the day we flew home. So it was the longest day ever. So I just kind of journaled about that. I was up for 27 hours, but it was all within one day because of time changes. So it was a very long day back home. And then here was my reset day, just trying to get back on track with things, which was really hard with really bad jet lag. like I documented here, jet lag. So back to my normal journaling now that I'm not on vacation. And in my normal journal pages, I just kind of write about like how I'm feeling, what I'm doing, whatever's on my mind. So it's not necessarily what happened that day. This was the Lunar New Year, so I had a bunch of things I printed off Instagram and a sticker from Yin in here. And then this day, I did this when I first woke up, which was just about my jet lag. And then I ended up not adding anything else because I was just so behind on all of my journals and everything. And it was stressing me out. So sometimes you just have to let it go and let it be blank. And that's okay. I finished this book while on vacation, but because all of my spreads were focused on what we were doing, I had to wait until I had an extra space to put a book review and then just kind of random stuff from my day. This, I think, is probably my favorite spread that's not a travel spread from February. I just really love how this came out. I'm really enjoying printing screenshots of things off Instagram. And basically what I do is I just screenshot things that I think are cute and inspiring me, and then I print them out on matte photo paper, which is essentially the paper I use anytime I print anything for my journals or my planners when I'm not traveling. And it is a photo paper, but it is matte, so it's not glossy at all, and it's thinner like a regular like printer paper, but you still get a good quality print. So I really love that, and I'll link that in the description box below as well. So I just like adding like big titles of what I was thinking about and adding just clusters of these things printed off the internet with washi and like other decor. Here's where I started the 100-day project. And I did talk about that in a previous video and I got some questions. So if you're not familiar with the 100-day project, I'll link that in the description box down below. But essentially it's a project where you pick any thing that you want to work on. Usually people do crafts, but I think it doesn't really have to be crafty. But essentially it's something you want to get better at and you do it for 100 days. I did it to learn to knit one year and I was super successful with that. But I have tried it other years and usually I haven't been successful other than the 1 year I did the knitting. And either it's because I picked something that was just not practical for my life or was too restrictive. So this time I picked that I wanted to watercolor every day, and I really, really want to do that, but I did decide to consciously quit that because this was just a really stressful month and I had too many things on my plate and I needed to get rid of something, and that was something that I could cut without a lot of stress or anxiety. Like I didn't want to cut like my daily journal or something and have big gaps. So I felt better about putting that aside, and then I will probably pick that up again at some other point. Here's just another one. I really liked sticking with kind of a muted color scheme for this spread. And here I'm back to using a fountain pen. This one I am using this ink from Ferris Wheel Press called the Twilight Symphony. And it's just a nice, beautiful blue. And I also have it in this TWSBI Eco here in an extra fine, which is one of my favorite pens. The rest of my journaling this month, or most of my journaling, is using this a Uniball 1 chunky gel pen. So I'm using that, and then I just use a little bit of fountain pen. Usually I use more fountain pen, but because when I travel, I don't bring, and yeah, there's the fountain pen again there. I don't bring a fountain pen while I travel because it doesn't fly well. So I was just kind of in a gel pen mood. And then as we get closer to the end of the month, I have some gaps. And that's usually because some days I just don't get in here to journal, or I don't finish my journaling spread. And I tend to come back and fill it in later as I work through, as I have like more time. But because I'm getting towards the end of the month, I would really run out of time to fill it in before I film these videos. And that's okay. What ends up happening is once I film this video, I kind of decide that this is done. Or usually that's what I do. I didn't do that for January because the month wasn't over. But usually I just decide, okay, I'm done with whatever I've done in February is enough. And I'm going to move on to March. And that helps this project not be stressful for me, because if I'm consistently falling behind and needing to fill in things, that just becomes too much. Here I had to sharpen pencils for a test I was taking for work. And so I had I doodled a pencil. Then I found this pencil cutout that I had from a daily calendar from last year after that. And so I just added it on there. And then here we got sushi, and then reflecting on the 100-day project and how it was not good timing to start it, which I realized fairly quickly. And it was just one of those things where like I was forcing myself to do it, but I wasn't enjoying it and it was causing more stress. So I just needed to let it go. And then here I was reflecting on another book I read, Sorrow and Bliss, which honestly I was kind of disappointed in this one. I gave it 3 stars. I really wanted to love it, but I didn't. I really liked the writing style, but it was just super, super slow. And then on the 28th, I took a civil service test. So I just documented that and filled in the page. And then because this is an undated journal, it has a February 29th. There is no February 29th this year. My plan originally was to fill this in with like things I saw on Instagram, like tweets and stuff, but I just didn't get around to it because it was such a busy month. So either it'll stay blank or I'll come back in and add something on here. I'll definitely show you, if not with my March video, with the end of the year flip through. And then we have my February vision board, which again, I put this together in my February plan with me, but I really liked how I kind of broke it up into 2 segments because February was very much 2 segments. I had the vacation side and then I had just normal February. And even though there's vacation on both sides of this one, I just liked that it was kind of 2 different color schemes. In the back of the book, there are some extra blank pages. And my plan is to do some longer journaling and reflections back here on certain topics. The only one I have started so far is 2026 in the news. And I did add this in January. In February, I added this about the Super Bowl and this about the Olympics. I do have more stuff to add in here, including, our country going to war. So not a lot of good things happening in the news, but I just haven't gotten around to doing it yet. And like I said, February's been a really rough month for me. So reflecting on that was just one thing I didn't need to do. I also really wanted to do a spread for each of my travel destinations this year with some like more photos printed and reflection. And I think I'm still planning to do that. I just did not have time to get to it. It didn't sound fun at the time because I was just so behind. So I decided to skip it for now. And if I do end up going back and doing that, I will share that at some point in the future, either in a later month or at the very end of the year, I will share a full flip through of how this journal comes together. I'm totally fine with there being some blank pages at the end, but my goal is always to fill every single page and make this really a meaningful collection of my year. So I'm really happy with how it's coming out. I think that not having the weeklies in here has been really good for me. But when I travel, I just get super far behind, not necessarily in this journal, but I have a collection of journals and planners that I keep up with, and I don't bring them all with me on vacation. I just brought this one. So that really makes it hard when I come back to kind of back journal all of those other ones. Not that I don't want to do it, I do, but it just takes a little bit more time. So I feel like in March, I might get a better feel for what my actual lineup kind of feels like this year, because January was just kind of feeling it out and February was half lost in travel. So I will have another video for you guys soon with a flip through of my other journals and planners in my lineup. If you are curious and you haven't seen those, I do a monthly flip through, or that's what I'm starting this year, of those other journals and planners. And I have my January one available. So if you want to see kind of what other journals and planners are in my lineup and how I'm using them, you can check that out. I also have an annual setup video for my full lineup, which you can check out as well. Thank you guys so much for being here. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below. And as always, I hope to see you guys all in the next one. Bye.